All right, so you wanted to dive deep into the Shiv Tandav Stotram.
We're talking symbolism, we're talking vivid imagery. Each verse, like, practically explodes with meaning.
I'm intrigued. And I heard something about the author being unexpected.
Oh, yeah. It's traditionally believed to be written by Ravana.
Wait, Ravana?
Yeah.
Like the demon king Ravana from the Ramayana?
The one and only, which adds a whole other level, to this whole thing.
Absolutely. That definitely adds a twist. But first things first. For those of us who might need a little refresher, what exactly is Stotram anyway?
It's a hymn of praise, basically. And in this case, it's directed towards Shiva.
Okay, Shiva, creation, destruction, the whole cosmic shebang.
Exactly. And to think it was possibly written by Ravana, I mean, talk about a complex character.
Right. It's like devotion can come from anywhere, huh?
It really makes you think about those boundaries of good and evil, that's for sure.
So let's jump into these verses. The first one paints a pretty intense picture of Shiva.
Oh, yeah. We've got flowing hair, a snake necklace, the rhythmic drumming of his dance. It really sets the stage.
It feels so powerful, so dynamic.
He's not just sitting there, Shiva is a force in motion, creation, destruction, the whole deal.
And the dance itself. It's more than just a dance.
It's symbolic of that whole cycle, that constant creation and destruction in the universe.
Wow, it's like the rhythm of the cosmos.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if it relates to those cycles we see in our own lives, too.
Oh, absolutely. The ups, the downs, the beginnings and endings. Ancient poets and philosophers, they really got that.
Speaking of duality, verse 2 seems to play with that a lot.
Right. You've got the celestial Ganga river flowing through his hair, but then there's fire blazing on his forehead. And then, to top it all off, a calming crescent moon.
It almost feels contradictory.
That's the whole point. This verse is a glimpse into how Hinduism views duality. These opposing forces, fire and water, creation and destruction, they aren't separate, they're intertwined.
It's all about balance, isn't it? Makes me wonder how we can even begin to grasp those contradictions in our own lives.
Now that's the million-dollar question. The Shiv Tandav Stotram definitely challenges us to think about those big, profound concepts.
So then we move to verse 3, and it's like we're suddenly peeking into a really personal moment.
Shiva and Parvati. We see her joy in his sidelong glances.
It's a tenderness you wouldn't necessarily expect from a deity associated with destruction.
Exactly. It reminds us that even gods are capable of love and compassion. And let's not forget, Parvati isn't just some bystander. She's a powerful goddess in her own right.
Right. Feminine energy, essential for creation. So their relationship itself represents that union of masculine and feminine forces.
Wow.
Powerful stuff. What can we learn from their dynamic, I wonder?
It's something to think about, for sure. Balance within ourselves and our relationships, maybe even in how we interact with the world around us.
Okay, and then we hit verse 4, and it's like a fashion show suddenly breaks out.
Serpent with a shining gem, Parvati adorned with red saffron, Shiva rocking an elephant hide. They really went all out with the imagery.
It's like they're trying to create a very specific picture in our minds.
And it goes beyond the visual. Every single detail has a deeper meaning. The elephant hide, for example, could symbolize Shiva's victory over ignorance and darkness.
It's not just about how it looks, it's about the symbolism. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Oh, absolutely. Each element is carefully chosen. And then we come to verse 5, and suddenly we're in the presence of, like, a divine king.
Other gods bowing to Shiva, their heads dusting his footstool with pollen.
Talk about establishing a hierarchy. Even Indra, king of the gods, acknowledges Shiva's ultimate authority.
Wow. So we've got this incredibly powerful Shiva capable of destruction and creation, love and compassion. And now we're seeing his place at the top of the cosmic ladder. It's amazing how much we've learned in just 5 verses.
Just 5, and trust me, there's so much more to discover. Ready to dive into the next set?
Absolutely, lead the way.
Okay, so moving on to verses 6 through 10. And you might notice some familiar themes and imagery popping up again.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. It's like we're revisiting certain ideas. Is that intentional?
Totally. Repetition in stotras, it's like a form of meditation, letting those images and concepts really sink in.
So each time we hear it, it's adding another layer of understanding.
Exactly, like weaving a tapestry, right. And then in verse 6, there's that crazy image of the fire from Shiva's third eye, like consuming the god of love.
Whoa, intense. You think that's saying even love can be a hurdle on the path to enlightenment?
Good point. I mean, it points to Shiva being beyond worldly desires, even love. like reaching a higher consciousness.
So not being controlled by desires, no matter how powerful, kind of ties into that whole equanimity thing we talked about.
You're making the connections.
Yeah.
And then you've got these other verses, Shiva battling demons, overcoming obstacles.
He's clearing a path for us, internally and externally.
Exactly. Taking out the negativity, anything blocking spiritual growth, destruction as part of creation, that's Shiva's thing.
It's not just about brute force, though. It's how that power is used for protection, for guidance.
Then we get to verse 11, and things get super dynamic.
It's like the energy ramps up. The dance reaches this crescendo. The drums are pounding.
It's even written out like dimmy, dimmy, dimmy. You can practically hear the rhythm.
Yeah. I feel like I'm right there watching it happen.
It's not just movement, though. It's conveying that universal pulse, that constant cycle of creation and destruction, all driven by Shiva's dance.
Wow, it's almost too big to grasp. But then verse 12 shifts gears.
We move from Shiva himself to, the mindset of the devotee.
Okay, yeah. It's all about achieving equanimity, seeing the divine in everything.
Right. A snake, a garland, a gem, a lump of dirt.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. All part of the same grand scheme.
Easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
As humans, we judge, we get attached to things. How do we even approach that kind of balance?
It's definitely a journey, not a quick fix. But the Stotram pushes us towards that,
Right.
to see that everything, even the stuff we don't like, it's all part of that cosmic dance.
Like looking at a mountain range, the peaks, the valleys,
Yeah,
all part of the same breathtaking view.
exactly. And then in verse 13, there's this feeling of longing, like yearning for peace, for happiness through meditating on Shiva.
It's like the devotee is craving that very equanimity we were just talking about, wanting freedom from all those attachments, all the chaos they bring.
Spot on. And this goes back to the Stotram's whole purpose. It's not just praising Shiva. It's about using that devotion to reach liberation.
Like a roadmap, leading you step by step.
Beautifully put. And with that, we get to the final verses, 14 and 15. It's all about the benefits of reciting, of reflecting on the Stotram.
Yeah, there's the mention of purity, deeper devotion to Shiva, even like material wealth. Sounds like there's some perks to engaging with this hymn.
Oh, definitely. But it's not just about the material stuff, right? It's about spiritual purification, liberation.
Like true wealth is in that growth, in aligning yourself with those universal rhythms.
That's it. And so we've made it through the whole Shiv Tandav Stotram. Such a powerful hymn. It really gives you a glimpse into Hinduism, into the many sides of Shiva.
Yeah, it's incredible. It feels like we've just scratched the surface, honestly. So much depth, all from one hymn.
It's true. And that's what's so cool about these ancient texts, right? There are layers upon layers of meaning, new discoveries every time you come back to them.
Okay, so we've gone through each verse, unpacked all that imagery and symbolism in the Shiv Tandav Stotram. And man, this hymn is packed with meaning. It's a lot to take in, though. Can we zoom out for a sec and, I don't know, sum up what we've learned about Shiva?
Absolutely. Shiva's just so fascinating, right? He's not easy to put in a box. He's got this whole spectrum of qualities. We've seen him as this ultimate force of nature, the god of creation and destruction. But we've also seen that balance, that duality that's woven into the universe.
Right. And those verses with Parvati, they really showed that softer side of Shiva, that love, that connection.
It's true. It's like a reminder that even with all that cosmic power, there's still room for tenderness. And that relationship with Parvati, that feminine energy, it's showing us that interplay between masculine and feminine, that's crucial for creation.
And we can't forget that dance. It's like he's choreographing the whole universe with that cosmic dance of his.
Beautiful way to put it. And the Stotram doesn't just describe it. It wants us to join in, to find that equanimity, see the divine and everything, move towards that liberation.
It's not just about admiring Shiva from afar. It's about embodying those same qualities, living those principles.
Exactly. It's like the Shiv Tandav Stotram is this guidebook for, spiritual evolution. It shows us a way to understand ourselves, our place in all this.
Throughout this whole deep dive, I keep thinking about that whole Ravana thing. The fact that this super devotional hymn might have been written by someone often seen as a villain.
It's definitely a paradox. But it also shows you the power of devotion, how it can come from anywhere, no matter who you are or what you've done. Maybe for Ravana, writing this was a way to connect with something bigger within himself, like a yearning for that balance, that liberation.
Wow, that's deep. It adds a whole other layer to this already complex hymn. So, to everyone listening, if you're at all curious about Hinduism, about the whole mystery of creation and destruction, or even if you just love powerful poetry, I urge you to check out the Shiv Tandav Stotram for yourself.
And as you read it, as you listen to those verses, let the imagery wash over you. Imagine you're witnessing Shiva's cosmic dance. What does it make you feel? What does it tell you about your place in all of this?
Big questions. We'll leave you with that. Keep exploring, keep asking those questions, keep diving deep.